Okay, welcome to the second part of the lectures for March 24th for KIN 425. I'm going to go over some jet lag problems that I posted on the Blackboard system. So the question here is, what strategies would you employ to alleviate jet lag in the following athletic competitions? Assume all athletes are traveling from Saskatoon. So the first case I give here, I think, is the easiest. It's a football team traveling to Vancouver, which is a 2-hour time difference, to play a game Saturday afternoon. They leave Saskatoon Friday at 6 a.m. and they arrive at 6:10 a.m. Vancouver time. So this is based on actual Air Canada travel schedules. So you're going to a time zone that's west. So they are 2 hours earlier than we are. So if it's 6 a.m. Saskatoon time, then it's only 4 a.m. Vancouver time. So if you're getting on the plane at 6 a.m. in Saskatoon and it's 4 a.m. at your destination time zone, you're going to want to sleep on the airplane. So I would suggest sleeping on that air flight to Vancouver. And even when you land in Vancouver, you can see you're landing at 6:10 a.m. It's probably earlier than most people wake up. And so I would suggest that you'd also want to sleep in the taxi cab that you're taking to your hotel. And, if you're arriving at the hotel early enough, say, you're arriving at the hotel, say 7 a.m., and you're used to waking up at 8 a.m., you might want to get an extra hour of sleep there. Now, it's a 2-hour time difference, and you can see you're arriving quite early in the morning on Friday, and then you're playing a game on Saturday afternoon. So recall that if you're traveling west, it takes about half a day to adjust for 1 hour time difference. So there you've got almost a full day of adjustment from Friday morning till Saturday afternoon. And so that's going to pretty much make up for your 2-hour time difference. So you're pretty much going to be adapted to your time difference by the time you play your game. So there's not too much you have to do in this situation, except perhaps sleep on the airplane and then maybe sleep a little bit when you get to your destination in Vancouver, if you're not used to waking up that early in the morning, 6 a.m. For the second problem, and this is a little bit more complicated, it's a hockey team that has a tournament to play in Fredericton, which is a 3-hour time difference, so they're 3 hours east. And the games are scheduled Thursday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday night. So you leave Saskatoon early Wednesday morning. You leave at 5 a.m. and you don't arrive in Fredericton until 4:26 p.m. So again, this is based on actual air flights through Air Canada. So this would involve maybe a change in flights, say in Toronto. So that's why you get into Fredericton so late. But the bottom line here is that you're arriving in Fredericton quite late. It's going to be Wednesday, and then you have to play Thursday night, and it's a 3-hour time difference. Recall that for each hour that you travel east, it's going to take 1 day to adjust to the time difference. So it's going to take you 3 whole days to adjust to this time difference, and you're only going to have about 1 day to adjust when you land in Fredericton until your first game Thursday night. So you've knocked off 1 hour difference from that 3-hour time difference. So now you're looking at a 2-hour time adjustment. And so my suggestion here would be to make sure that you, before you leave Saskatoon, for the 2 days that you leave, or 2 days before you leave Saskatoon, the 2 nights, make sure you go to bed 1 hour earlier each night than you're used to. And that'll help you to make up for that time difference. So if you go to bed 1 hour earlier each night before you leave Saskatoon, then you've made up 2 out of the 3 hours for that time difference. And by the time you land in Fredericton, you've got that whole day to adjust, and that'll knock off that last hour time difference. So to summarize, you want to go to bed 1 hour earlier for the 2 nights before you leave for Fredericton. And then once you land in Fredericton, you'll have that complete day to adjust. Also, if you're leaving Saskatoon Wednesday morning at 5 a.m., that would be 8 a.m. Fredericton time. So my suggestion would be that you try to stay awake on the airplane when you're traveling to Fredericton. The last one here is the most challenging situation. So it's a rower who has a competition in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam is 7 hours ahead of us, and you're traveling east. So if you look at the actual time adjustments, it's going to take you 1 day to adjust for every hour you travel east. And the budget allows you to arrive in Amsterdam 3 days before the competition. So if you're 3 days before the competition, you adjust by about 1 hour each day. You're looking at 4 hours left to adjust to that time difference. You can probably successfully go to bed an hour earlier for 3 nights before your departure for Amsterdam. So for example, if you go to bed usually at 11 p.m. at night, for 3 days beforehand, you're going to adjust your time to go to bed an hour earlier each night. So 10 p.m. the first night, 9 p.m. the second night, then 8 p.m. the third night before you leave. And that way you adjust yourself closer to their bedtime. So that way you can probably adjust for 3 days before you go by going to bed an hour earlier each night. That will knock off 3 hours from that time difference. And then you've got 3 days to adjust. So you're left with about 1 hour of adjustment there. So in this situation, you want to try to do everything possible to adjust to that very different time zone. So when you get on the airplane to travel to Amsterdam, you want to make sure that on the airplane, you're staying awake during the daytime Amsterdam hours, and you're trying to sleep on the airplane during the nighttime in Amsterdam. You can take a melatonin supplement on the airplane to try to help you sleep. When you land in Amsterdam, if you're landing, say, in the morning or before noon, or maybe even early afternoon, you might want to have a couple of cups of strong coffee to try to stay awake. You don't want to nap when you get to Amsterdam if you're landing there in the daytime. You want to try to stay awake and force yourself to adjust to their time schedule immediately.